Your film is so beautiful. Tell me how this idea came about. What inspired you?
The very beginning of the idea was, shall I look at you?
You can look at me.
You, yeah. The beginning of the idea was started when one refugee in Amsterdam, in the central square, burned himself and died in front of the eyes of everybody. One of the busiest places in Amsterdam, 4.5 years ago. It was so effective and so touching for people to see, and also for us. And the writer and producer of the film, Nia, she started with the idea, let's do something about it because this can happen. And that was not the only one, but that was one of the biggest events that was in the media and everywhere and affected everybody. So we started from then the research and writing scripts. She has wrote different versions of the script in 4 years, and the last versions I helped her or discuss that actually together. And at the end, about in 2014, we were ready to shoot, and we shot in about 9 months of editing because we worked in an improvisational style.
In fact, it seems a bit of a crossed genre, partly documentary, partly narrative. Which angle were you trying to take, and how did you find the girl? How did you come across her story?
The story is real, but more than that, I can't tell you anything because that's the concept of the film. The concept of the film is to confuse or to mix the two genres, fiction and documentary, and to let the audience decide what is true and what is not. And whoever asked us about which part was fiction and which part was the documentary, I cannot say. And that's up to you, up to audience, and that's part of the concept because we want to confront the audience with their prejudgments because they see in the film many times things that they think is something else, and then it turn out to be something different than what they thought. And in this way, maybe I hope that we are more concerned about our prejudgments about people and things that we see, in this case about refugees.
How personal was it to you? Because I believe Amsterdam is not your place of origin.
Exactly.
So was it in a way autobiographical?
For both of us, Nafis and I, the writer and me, we are both from refugee background. We came from Iran as a refugee in Netherlands. So that's why it's maybe for us more personal, more touching this subject. But generally, what I make is about immigration in different way and the effects that it has on people as well as immigrants, as people that are accepting immigrants. So in which way it affects them and or makes them developed or not.
I think that besides being obviously a story about refugees having problems with immigration in a completely different context, it's almost a love story between a human and a city, because this young girl is really experiencing the city also by the way she moves within it. So did you also want to make audiences experience their surroundings in a different way now that we just wander around the streets looking down on our smartphones, and there's this motto that we should look up, and she seems to look up and around with all her senses. So was that also something you were trying to pass on with your...
Yeah, what is happening, it wasn't 100% our mention to do this, but at the end it turned out to become a beautiful portrait of Amsterdam. And a comment that I have heard, because we have screened once in Netherlands so far, and the audience who live in Amsterdam, what I heard, which is very interesting, was what we saw was so familiar. We know all the places, we recognize the places, but at the same time, it felt like we are a foreigner in that place, but seeing the movie. So that is maybe it's interesting to see that the film has succeeded to bring the feeling of an alien inside the city, even to people who are living in that city.
What about the choice of black and white?
Yeah, black and white. I like black and white, of course, very much. But in this, here has black and white and color. You have the most functional. If I have to give it a function, then is to recognize which part is shot by the crew in the story, and which part is shot not by the crew. So to recognize the film in the film structure.
Right. Well, what does it mean for you to bring your story here at the Socially Relevant Film Festival, considering it's also your first time in New York? So
Socially Relevant Festival, yeah, great title for the first at the first step. But what I think is the purpose of the festival to focus more on socially relevant films is very interesting because I think it's something that it has to be generally as ordinary, as normal as you can imagine, but it's not. And as long as it's not part of the reality of daily way of filmmaking, I mean, so every film has to be socially relevant somehow. If it's not, then I don't think what is the purpose of such a film. So as long as not all the films are socially relevant, I hope this festival will stay and gives the audience the possibility to watch the films who are made in that way.
well, the mission is there and it will continue to be there.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here with your film, which is
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share this with people in New York.
Okay, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think she